The Quran addresses people who are believers, who are Muslims, but also who are children of Adam, as if the Quran says, "Oh humanity."
For the Jewish person, Jerusalem runs through not just our psyche, our part of our soul, but is in the veins and the blood of every single Jew, no matter where they are in the world.
This is apartheid in the 21st century. It is inhumane.
The same God that creates the world can decide to give this land to his people, the Jewish people, which in fact he did.
People are more important than land. And this is something that the Zionist movement couldn't understand.
Some voices inside Israel think, let us improve the conditions in the cage, without understanding that we Palestinians refuse to live in the cage to begin with.
I cannot live in a city that discriminates people in some grotesque way.
بقول لك ايه، مرة من المرات دخلت اتكفل في القشلة مخفر الشرطة فوق. في صورة للبلدة القديمة جوا حاطينها كبيرة هيك صورة ومعلقينها بالحيط مبروزة. كل دار اليهود حاطين لها موجودة جوا السور ومعلمينها بعلم اسرائيل. يعني كل دار بعلم اسرائيل. هلا كل الدور اطلعت عليهم وضليتني اركز وين دورنا بالضبط بتيجي في الصورة. فركزت اللي هم كاتبين عليه حاطين علم اسرائيل بس كاتبين جنبها كله مش مكتوب جنبها الا دورنا مكتوب جنبها ليف يورشلايم قلب القدس. وبالفعل انت حط الخارطه بالضبط بتاعت البلده القديمه وحط اصبعك على دورنا وبتلاقيها نص بالضبط على الدايره. تحتينا لمعلوماتك نفق انت وخيلك بتركب مع خيلك تطلع من الكوتل.
إنه لما كنت أقعد على السطوح وأطلع على الأولاد كيف بيروحوا وبيجوا خلص أتضايق أحكي ليش أنا هون وهم تحت وهيك يعني إنه بس أصعب شيء. قعدت بالحبس المنزلي 10 أشهر صبح وليل. وكانش اليوم يمرق على السريع بطيء بس على التلفون. أكتر لعبة بحبها البلياردو. ما بتضيع الوقت يعني بتطول يعني لتفوز بضيع الوقت وانا بلعب. هاي البول 8 يعني بدخل كل الالوان واخر طابة 8 السوداء. انا كانت هوايتي قبل الفوتبول.
نحن مقدسيين أبا عن جد. إحنا سكان القدس من 1850. رقم البيت كمان 3 عشان أركز، لأنه رقم حلو 3 طول عمري بحافظه يعني. شو مصلحتهم قرار الإخلاء، لأن أنا عايش بيناتهم. أنت إذا لاحظت في حوشي فيش عرب. أنا العربي الوحيد اللي بدخل، تحتي يهود، فوقي يهود، وراي يهود. طب أنا ليش 4 سنين هون؟ أنا لحالي المفروض، محدش سأل فيي المفروض. والله أصعب إشي علي إن لما أشوفه هيك يعني مخنوق، أنخنق يعني، أشوفه ضعف، صفر. كثير أشياء صارت معي بتبين عليه بسرعة. كنت أحس فيها وأنخنق، أتضايق جواتي. كان من الأوائل. أول إشي أحكي لك على قصة الدور. ترحلنا، دخلنا البلدة القديمة، وبعدين أجرت اليهودية ب 52 وطلعت على أمريكا. أجرت كل العقار هذا لعائلات، مش بس إلنا. الدور اللي بالحارة كلها اللي لليهود ارتفع عليها قضايا قبلنا ب10 15 سنة. اليهود أو اللي بتابعوا العقارات تاعون البلدة القديمة، ما هي مجموعة. أنا إلي 4 سنين بقاتل في دولة. المحامي تبع المستوطن اللي قبالي أخت ومرته قاضية بمحكمة الصلح. يعني الدولة كلها في إيديهم، بس بحرك إسرائيل كلها. محامي. إحنا قانونيين، أنا متجوز وأبوي عايش، يعني أنا كمان محمي.
اعتقلوني مرة وأنا صغير، عمري 11 سنة، وروحت منها. قال ضارب حجر بالأقصى، وصاروا يعرضوا للقاضي إنه كسر بساط ومش بساط. بعديها نزلوا لائحة الاتهام، وصرت أطلع عليها محاكم. طلعت يمكن 20-30 محكمة، وهي آخر واحدة ب18.
So we're driving now to Abu Tor, a very significant rooftop, to see the whole of the Holy Basin. If we're talking in terms of this battle between East and West Jerusalem, your viewers need to understand there is no such concept of Arab East Jerusalem today. There really isn't. There's only a small area called the Holy Basin, which the Arab world really wants, which they obviously could never get. The battle or the conflict is over one particular area, which is the Old City and the area around the Old City. We're not a secret organisation. It's a very, very well-known, normal, regulated, non-profit organisation. It's not hidden. From here, you get to see what we call the centre of the Jewish world, centre of Jewish life, history, heritage. Everything about our connection to Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, starts and has continued for 3,800 years from here. I like calling it the pumping station of the Jewish world. Jerusalem runs through not just our psyche, our part of our soul, but is in the veins and the blood of every single Jew, no matter where they are in the world. There's 225,000 Jews living in East Jerusalem today. Nobody is moving those 215,000. My parents were brought up in a very Zionist, traditional and religious home, and it was obvious that one day they would come to Israel, which they did when they got married. In fact, I was, in some ways, started off my life here because I was conceived here in Israel. But at some point, my mum, who was pregnant, went back to Australia, and that's why our branch ended up in Australia. And 25 years ago, I basically returned home. My body may have been in Australia, but that's all. And Australia is a beautiful country, but it was never, I can't really refer to it as home. Home has always been here.
You came here when?
3,800 years ago. No.
When did you come?
I came here 3,800 years because there is no difference between the host of Jews that have lived around the world and have tried to come back here. Every religious Jew and every traditional Jew that speaks about Jerusalem also believes that there will be the third temple. It's not something that we can actively do today because something else exists there that has to be respected. I'll say that again. But that doesn't stop a Jew from believing, dreaming, and even praying that one day God's house will be there, that third temple will be on the Temple Mount. And obviously we don't have the right atmosphere today, the right conditions for that, and that's why we're part of what's called the unfolding redemption process. Call it the Zionist dream, which is being realized. That's taking place here, and we're part of that. The same God that creates the world can decide to give this land to his people, the Jewish people, which in fact he did. There was nothing here. This was desert. Remember, there was nothing outside the walls of the old city. So when I hear Arabs today talking about they've got a connection here for generations, no such thing. The only people that are a connection here, the only people with sovereign rights here, are the Jewish people. There's never been an Arab state here with the capital of Jerusalem. There's never been a Palestinian state here. This talk about Palestine, I've never heard of anything more absurd.
The Philistines were mentioned in the Bible. The Palestinians who lived in Jericho 12,000 years ago knew how to cultivate the land. And in fact, we know this because they have stored wheat. Even the science says that it's a Canaanite tunnel, the one that leads from the Gihon Spring all the way to the pools down the road. I used to come with my maternal grandmother. Literally, she used to come and have basically her bath right here when we were young. And that's exactly where Jerusalem began. It began precisely because of this spring, the only spring in the region. In my maternal family, for example, who lived really literally up on this hill, they cultivated the land on the slopes of Mount of Olives for many generations. My father studied in this school way prior to 1948, the only high school which was a Rashidiyya. My parents' home, my grandparents' home, paternal family, they are just 3-4 minutes from here. I have roots in this area, and that cannot change. History unfolds in many ways. We don't have any exclusive claims. We don't try to have a monopoly on even the historical narratives. Everyone is welcome, but it's the power structure that maintains the colonial project. That's basically what we refuse.
I'm a Jerusalemite, I'm a Palestinian, I'm a Christian. I do not put them in order, they're all on the same level for me. My roots go back to the time of Pentecost, to the 1st century. There are 13 traditional Christian families in Jerusalem. It's the place where my grandparents met, my parents got married. My life is Jerusalem. This was a business hub for Palestinians in Jerusalem. I remember when I was a little kid, I would come with my family. This was the most expensive part of Jerusalem. It was an industrial zone. Israel decides to build a wall that connects a street. There used to be a street that connects with all of the different communities in East Jerusalem. They come, they build a wall, and they shut it, and they say, you are no longer have access to your neighbor. You no longer have access to your school. You no longer have access to your work. The alternative for somebody is to travel for an hour or 2 hours to possibly make it to work, to possibly make it to school, making it for students, Palestinian students living in Jerusalem, to access their school that they used to go to with their classmates and their friends. It is you have to pay quadruple. Israel does not want the bad image of bringing their soldiers in and forcing people to be evicted from their houses. Today, in the 21st century, Israel uses new techniques. They make it impossible for you to live in these neighborhoods so that you willingly leave. Because if you need access to health care, there's no access to health care in this area. If you need access to a job, there's no jobs in this area. There's no social life, it's empty. It's a ghost town. Behind the wall is an industrial zone. The government brings settlers, gives all kinds of benefits for people to start an industrial zone, forcing the people over here who used to be factory owners to work on a daily wage if they are granted a permit and the permission to work in a factory. And in addition, there is an Israeli-only highway. Palestinians living here from East Jerusalem can neither access the industrial zone for work, nor can they access the Israeli-only roads. We Palestinians in East Jerusalem have become invisible. If you want to be a tourist or a pilgrim coming into this land that many call holy, you do not see the Palestinians, you do not see the destruction and the devastation that is happening here. There's plenty of narratives happening in Jerusalem, but the reality is one: segregation, occupation, discrimination, injustice. This is apartheid in the 21st century, and the world is silent. Communities within churches have been divided. Communities in schools have been divided. Families have been separated. If you are on that side of the wall and on that side of the wall and you decide to get married, it's easier to apply for immigration and to move to Canada or the US, and this is what happened with with family members of mine, than to live over here and to go through the bureaucracy of the Israeli government.
It's amazing how we're residents of a country that we were born in. If I was born here, I should have some sort of citizenship to something. Being born in Jerusalem as an Arab, we can't get a citizenship to anything. Our Jordanian citizenships that we have were for travel. We're not actual citizens of Jordan. Israel controls Jerusalem. We don't have Israeli citizenships, so we're just stuck in the middle.
The picture is larger and more powerful than individuals. I see it ethnic cleansing, deliberate, systematic. I know the statistics. 250,000 Palestinians lost their IDs between 1967 and 1994. That's the beginning of Oslo.
It's really confusing. How do people in Jerusalem that were born here as Arabs, they don't own anything on paper? I was born here, and I'm not allowed to live here anymore.
So the story of our eldest son is the story of a typical Palestinian, bright, energetic, highly motivated youngster who wanted really to make it. And Mahmoud tried for a year and a half to find a decent job. It's the story of many youngsters, many Palestinian youngsters. You don't have to be Freud or Jung to realize that your son is really depressed. And one day he told me, "Dad, I cannot keep taking pocket money from you." And we both understood what his statement meant. We both went silent. We knew that Mahmoud was asking for my blessing, if you will, that he would travel outside the country, to the United States in this case, where he would ultimately flourish. But he's lost his ID, and today he comes here as a tourist. And that hurts. When Mahmoud says that he does not understand why it was revoked. I think he's echoing this, egalitarian sense of belonging, this inclusiveness. We deserve better, not qua Palestinians, but qua human beings who happen to be living in this part of the world. It's a position of strength when I recognize the humanity even of the people who are causing me distress. Because any colonial project will definitely chip at the very humanity of both occupier and occupied. Both of us lose our humanity. We become even subhumans, less, deserving less, getting less. It shouldn't be the case.
It's extremely difficult to try to explain the political situation that we have here to people abroad because they don't understand it. They're like, how are you born in a country but can't go back into it? They ask simple questions, but if you try to answer them in layman terms, they won't understand it because nobody understands us. There's no simple way of explaining why they revoked the ID or why they took it from me, and it's really complicated.
Imagine the audacity of passing such a law in the United States that will consider the Native Americans, the indigenous people, as foreigners. You provide them now with a green card rather than citizenship, and then you will tell them, oh, you broke the law, you have to leave the country. That's exactly what's happening with East Jerusalemites.
Since the morning, we've only been traveling in less than 1 kilometer square. But we have to travel around 30 kilometers to reach from one point to another, from a Palestinian neighborhood to another. We are within 1 kilometer square from the ghost town. Still in Jerusalem. Calandia is Jerusalem. And the wall does not represent the borders of the city of Jerusalem. We are circled by Jewish-only roads, settler roads, Israeli roads, industrial zones, military installations. But when it comes to tax paying, everybody in this neighborhood and in all of the adjacent neighborhoods pay taxes to the municipality. While if you are a Palestinian neighborhood, you do not get any benefits back from the municipality. The purpose of the wall was to annex all empty land, and this is why you see where the trees are and where there's a population concentration like Kufar Aqab, like Calandia, it is to disconnect them from Jerusalem. In one night, the Israeli army came with bulldozers, and they came and they said, we're demolishing 18 homes. And they destroyed the whole structures. Even the commander said, you no longer need to watch Al Jazeera or TV or the news to see Syria. We're making a new Syria here. And just going around the city over here, you will see one house after another being destroyed, brought to ruins. When it comes to East Jerusalem, 4 out of every 10 houses is under demolition threat or already has demolition orders being processed. Israel knows it's destroy houses, you destroy families. And when you destroy families, you destroy communities. When you see the tram, the purpose of the tram is connecting a settlement with the city, going through Palestinian neighborhoods. They've confiscated most of the Palestinian roads, most of the Palestinian land, for the purpose of making life easier for settlers, disregarding the benefits of the Palestinian community. Unfortunately, today, it's very clear. It is the right-wing Zionist control of the Israeli political arena. They are the ones who really mandate the policy of the government, and most of the mentality of young Israelis is very much right-wing. We also have some problems with the Israeli left. We fall trap with some voices inside Israel who think, let us improve the conditions in the cage, without understanding that we Palestinians refuse to live in the cage to begin with. I want to ask you first, what part of the U.S. are you?
I was born in New Jersey.
In New Jersey, East Coast. You know, last week I was in the East Coast. Yeah.
I see myself as a Zionist because I'm proud that our people have their state, but our state and our people have principles, and one of them is that, you know, everyone was created in the image of God.
Some see Jerusalem as united city, and some people see it very much divided between East and West and within the different population.
No question about it. I don't think anyone that knows anything about Jerusalem would say anything else. East Jerusalem is gravely neglected in every possible way in terms of the infrastructure. Most of the neighborhoods of East Jerusalem don't have a sewage system. Just about every possible public service you can think of is under-budgeted and lacking in East Jerusalem. The only thing they get a lot of is parking fines and housing demolition orders. Those are the only things that they get an extra supply of.
I mean, growing up and so on, we lived on the memories of Jerusalem pre-1948. We were also very much in solidarity with the survivors of the Holocaust. But for us, we see you, and I mean it is, I don't speak this as personally to you, but it is, we see you or Herzl and so on, that people who have come with their own narrative and have dispossessed us from our land, from our roots. We appreciate that Herzl was open-minded and wanted to build mosques or churches inside with synagogues. But Jerusalem at that time had synagogues, had mosques, you know, there wasn't something new that he would have offered us.
There have been grave injustices, and I think that what we can do is try to correct them, and that's what I
There's many parallels between us and the indigenous communities and around the world, especially Native Americans.
But to me, all the talk about the history has to come later because we're still living it. What I think is my job as a city councilor, as a Jerusalemite, as an Israeli, as a Jew, is to do everything I can to correct the wrongs and make this country a more just place to live in for everyone.
So you play Monopoly during your free time?
No, actually, this is a funny story. This was a present from the mayor to members of the city council. This is a Monopoly Jerusalem game, and I don't remember if I did even write a letter of protest in the end, but this is what we were given as a present for the holiday, and what you can see here is, this is Jerusalem, right? But you have here the city of David, you know, David, right? The Mount of Olives, the Knesset, Montefiore windmill, the market and stuff, Mea Shearim. El Aqsa is not here. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is not here. And basically what you have is a bunch of Jewish sites and various other allusions to other things. But it's not a very balanced picture of Jerusalem.
This is the middle of the city of David. There's about 85 families here. Very big tourism because there's massive archaeological digs. This is one of the oldest lived-in areas where Jews have been for since King David. There's tons of Jewish homes here. Names are very important, so how you represent this, I call this the City of David. That's what the Jewish world calls this. It was the City of David before it was Silwan, let's put it that way. Just like the Yemenite village was the Shiloach village of the Yemenites before it was Silwan, so why would I call it Silwan?
If you listen carefully, you will hear Arabic. The kids, the homes, we are deeply rooted in this land. And we always welcomed those who came here. And in fact, at one point, Silwan had a small community of Yemenite Jews. They could have went and stayed until 1948. They stayed in this particular area, but they were part of the social fabric, very small minority. We cannot say that the Palestinians did not include Jews. At the same time, we should not say that this land was ever homogeneous with one people or one tribe.
This is a very important place on the main road between the Damascus Gate and the Western Wall. It's a massive complex. Ariel Sharon bought the apartment in the building in 1987, basically saying the Jews have a right to live anywhere and everywhere in Jerusalem. And he bought officially one of the apartments in this building that used to be an old hotel. Our connection here, unfortunately, has been bought with a lot of Jewish blood. And we opened up this shop front to add a sense of security for Jews walking along the road from the Damascus Gate to the Western Wall.
طبعا لانه هم كيف بدي اقول لك يعني هم حسوا اني انا لعبت عليهم اني انا يعني مطلتهم سنتين ثلاثه بدون محاكم مفاوضات 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 واخر اشي قلت لهم محاكم ولما تروح محاكم يعني اني انا مش شايفكم بدي ايش بدكم سووا انا قاعد في الدور فبلش الضغط بلشت المخالفات على البسطه بلشت تسكر البسطه 5 اشهر سكر لي اياها انضربت على البسطه كمان بدي اقول لك يعني لحالهم 5 اشهر ما تشتغلش مشكله وانا مش متعود اشتغل برا عمري ما اشتغلت عند حدا طول عمري مع ابوي على البسطه بعد 4 اشهر ونص حطيت محامي يهودي على القانون رجع لي البسطه كمان الوضع كمان يعني حتى لو بعد ما فتحت كمان الوضع السياسي في البلد مش جايب شغل الناس بتخاف تنزل على البلد الحركة مش زي أول
وصاروا يعطوني مواعيد بنفس مواعيد محكمة الدار عشان يعني يحتار أبوي وين بده يروح على محكمتي أو على محكمة الدار وصاروا يضغطوا فينا يعني إنه يضلوا ياخذوني وأنا ما إليش
ليش اخذت واحد؟ كم تركتم يابا؟ كم تركتم واحد؟
كلهم فوق 17
هناك دخان
قالوا لي يوم الأحد
دخان
يوم الأحد
3 محاكم مع بعض اطلع على البسطة وعلى الدور وعلى مهدي تعطينا تخليهوش يروح شد عليه تخليهوش يطلع الام تضل بالدور معاه او انا اكون معاه واحد منا فالام لا بتقدر تروح لا عزايم ولا تزور اي حدا طول ما هي انا بالنهار بالشغل هي جنبه لازم تكون في اوقات انا اذا بكون بالليل يعني معزوم على عشاء شيء ببعتها مع البنات وانا بقعد مع مهدي فكان حبس منزلي إله وإلنا يعني هذا التك طلع براءة قعد 9 ايام انه ضارب عن الاسطوح اشي واخر اشي اكتشفوا انه مش من الاسطوح هذا انضرب بعديها بعد هاي القضية بالضبط أنا ركبت الكاميرتين فصاروا بعديها كل ما ينطوا يعني في مرة جندي حط قام من جيبته شغلة وحطها في السطوح هلا قال لي بدي ياخذ ابنك بقول له ليش؟ قال لي لأنه في بقايا فتاش هون فهمتني قلت له هاي أنت حطيتها مش بقايا فتاش بس على العموم أنا عندي بدك تاخذ الولد خذه عندي كاميرا هون كاميرا هون لما شاف الكاميرتين بطل بده ياخذ مهدي قال لي بصادر وهذا بس نزلني عن الدرج من هون قلت له زي ما طلعت بتنزل ما دام ابني مش مسوي شيء وبطلت بدك اياني من محل ما نطيت ارجع بنزلكش من عندي بالفعل نط وتشعبط ونط من عند اليوم
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. صباح الخير.
صباح النور. How are you?
Good to see you. كيف
Thank
الحال؟
you for...
No. Tell me what is going on in this city, this problematic city.
You are from Argentina. What part of Argentina?
From Buenos Aires, yes.
Buenos Aires. And was it your own decision or part of your family that you wanted to
No,
move?
my father was a Holocaust survivor. So I grew up in a Zionist family. It was very clear for me from the beginning that I will live in this country. And when I arrived here, I was a right-winger. And I belonged to a right-wing Zionist organization.
Which organization?
Betar. Betar was the name.
Oh, the very hardcore.
The hardcore, yes. I was in the hardcore.
Yes.
3 months after arrive, I entered into the army. I go to the army because I say that this is my role. Zionists should go to the army and fight for the country.
Why do we have in Jerusalem people saying it is, oh, I have to work for the Jewish people or I have to work for the Palestinian people?
Okay, because this is the narrative of the right-wingers. For them, we are in the middle of a conflict, and we are fighting each against the other.
So Jerusalem is not a healthy city or a united city?
No, it is. Everybody knows that this is not a united city. And everybody knows that this is a city where discrimination is running. What I succeed to do for the first time in Jerusalem is to show how this discrimination works and to the meaning of the discrimination with empirical data. I was the first one that succeed to analyze the municipal budget.
It must be a very difficult job.
Oh, yes, it was very difficult. First of all, because for the municipality and for the people in Jerusalem, you are a kind of traitor. You work for the Palestinians, not for the Jewish people. How can you do it? And I try to answer them. I try to explain them, it's a mistake. What I am doing for Israel, for the Jewish people, because I am convinced that if the occupation will continue, Israel will collapse. In some way, I try to explain them that I am more patriotic than the right wing, because the right wing is taking us to a catastrophe. And I am trying to save my country from ourselves. We are talking here about 40% of the population, and the budget, it's still 11%, no more than 11%.
And this must be scaring very much the people in the municipality.
Oh, it was a drama, yes. How do you do it? You have to shame, you cannot publish these documents.
They are responding by annexing more Jewish areas into citizens in the city and disconnecting and Palestinian neighborhoods.
Yes, yes.
It is not an ethical response, but it is the response of the municipality.
The strategy that they use is to say, we invest 200 million shekel in East Jerusalem. And it's true. Yes, they invest hundreds of millions of shekel. But when you look at the overall budget, then you realize that these hundreds of millions of shekels, they are just a small, a very short part of the general budget. You can call it religious discrimination, racial discrimination, ethnical discrimination. It doesn't make any difference. But yes, discrimination. We are living here in a city that discriminates 40% of the population. I cannot live in a city that discriminate people in some grotesque way. There are days that I couldn't sleep, in particular when the municipality demolished houses. Yes, but how can I, as a Jew, that we suffer from discrimination over centuries, how can we in our country discriminate? Judaism and discrimination cannot live together. So something very hard happens to Judaism in this country.
What is this photo?
You know this picture, this historical picture? Oh, this is incredible. Look at this. This is from the Nazi German, okay, in 1936.
The soldier who was not saluting Hitler.
Just one guy in the crowd that was not saluted Hitler. This is for me a motto.
And I think it is. This is what makes us different.
This is what makes us different.
But those are the people that history remembers.
And my other hero, the Beatles.
كثير اعتدوا علي بس عند الاعتقال مش بالسجن. لما اعتقلوني بوحشية، هجموا علي 10، فتحوا لي راسي من هون وكلهم هجموا علي بالوين، ضربوني على جسمي، صار جسمي أزرق. يوميتها حبسوني شهر، ويعني اللي بكون جوا بعاني، بكون نايم، بيجوا بيعدوهم الساعة 5 الصبح، وبعد ما يعدوهم بتوضى وبكون نايم، بيعرفش يرجع ينام. إنه مش محلي لازم أكون غان، يعني مش محل واحد عمره 15 سنة يكون بالسجن، محله بالمدرسة بنادي هيك. أنا بس تعلمت شغلة واحدة غير الصبر. بس إحنا عندنا هون بالقدس في معاناة كبيرة عندنا. إذا أي واحد بقعد بالحارة بيحملوه، عامل إشي ولا مش عامل إشي.
احنا طالعين في هذا الصباح على محكمة مهدي، واليوم قرار الحكم ان شاء الله بكون خير، لانه يعني انظلم، قعد حياته تغيرت، كل شيء تغير في حياته. كان يعني تعبنا لنا 3 سنين ونص مروا على الشؤون، يعني ان شاء الله نتامل انه القاضي يعني ينظر لها انه يكمل تعليمه وما يحبسوش يعني.
لانه امي زهقت بطلت تطلع معي ان شاء الله.
رفضت الاتفاقيه ورحت على المحاكم، هذا يعني بدايه الحرب، هم بيعتبروها بدايه الحرب بيني وبينهم. احنا زي حجار هالبلد كيف بيقولوا، زي حجار البلد. إيه احنا رايحين على المحكمة، إن شاء الله بعد المحكمة بنشوفكم، يعطيكم العافية.
Most of the cases, it's young kids. They get arrested in the middle of the night or under very difficult circumstances. They become very vulnerable. They themselves are victims.
Israel says, okay, if you did not throw stones
who throws stones in your neighborhoods. And this is how they try to make people collaborators with the military. So it's also very common when Israel arrests a child, the first thing that they threaten them is if you don't confess guilty, we're going to take away the work permit from your father, from your mother, from your brother, from your sister, and so on.
القاضي الحمد لله اللي طلع يعني شوية مبسوط اليوم. ما حكموش سجن، حكموا 12,000 شيكل أو سجن 50 يوم، وإن شاء الله بندفعهم على التقسيط. ووقف تنفيذ 6 أشهر لمدة 3 سنين. بالمال ولا بالعيال أهون بلا.
الحكم منيح. ولا شيء حكى لي إني أنا شفت أخنق صغير وما رضيتش أحكم.
بالنسبة إلي اللي المرابط أو اللي بيحافظ على القدس اللي هو اللي بيجيب الشهادة اللي بيبقى قوي علما ومالا.
أول يوم طلعت من الحبس المنزلي بعد 9 أشهر بالضبط، طلعت من الدار على باب العمود، صرت أمشي بين الناس ولفيت، كيفت يعني إنه فك. أكثر إشي افتقدته وأنا قاعد بالدار لياقتي.
هو كان وهو صغير يتدرب ايش اسمها اللعبة؟ بركول. فهو ما صدق كيف فك عنه المعصار وهيك شوي، فلا راح رجع سوى الحركات تاعون البركول وصورهم. خدهم حلوين.
أنا قعدت بحبس المنزلي مدة 10 شهور، وهلأ حكومة الاحتلال بتهددنا بقرار إخلاء. منعوني أروح على المدرسة، صرت مضطر أضل طول وقتي بالدار. بهذا الوقت بالوقت الحالي بفكرش بإشي، بس بفكر إنه الدار إلنا وراح تضل إلنا.
صعب جدا جدا. لو بتشوف الضغط اللي أنا كنت عايش فيه، لا بنام لا ليل ولا نهار. كل حركة كل كلمة عبرية بتلاقيني نطيت على الشباك، خلص حالة هستيريا يعني. هذا قرار نهائي يعني عندي، خلص روحي في الدار.
الوضع بخطر ولازم أضل بالدار، يعني إحنا بوضع حرج هلأ، وأنا الدار انولدت فيها وراح أضل فيها. إحنا لو كان الواحد حاط عنده إنه مستقبل بده يطلع إشي بدمروا له إياه. أنا بستسلمش، أنا عندي أنا طموح وإن شاء الله بدي أكمل فيه. أنا انولدت بالبلد وريحة البلد بعشقها، بقدرش أطلع منها. أمطار يعني مش بعاد إحنا عن الأقصى، دارنا بتطل على قبة الصخرة.